Hello, I'm Lise Colucci, one of the life coaches at queenbeing.com, where we help you to discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse and toxic relationships and beyond. As today we are talking about beyond narcissistic relationships into dating again. This was requested by some of you, so let's do it. What's it like, and what do you go through? And yeah, let's talk about it. So, hello everybody, how are you? What's going on today with you guys? Let me know. Where do I want to start with this? First of all, let me just say, if you have not hit subscribe to this channel, please subscribe if you would like to have notifications texted to you about when I do go live. I try to go 3 times a week minimally, trying to work up to 5 here. Text me at 33222 and put the words Lise Live in the text, Liselive, all one word. And you will receive text notifications 10 minutes or so before I go live. And also hit the like button if this topic works for you. So I know what you guys want more of. Anyway, hello. Hi, Jack. And can't talk today. Svenusha and Hannah. And why is my phone dinging on this? That's okay. We'll just ignore that. And Jack and E Rock Freedom. Hello, you guys. My makeup looks nice. Thank you. It's the red lips. Thank you, Erica. She says, wear the red lips, all these. Okay, so dating again. Hey, anybody there yet? Anybody interested? Are you curious what it's like? How do you know you're ready? Okay, these are some questions you got to ask yourself. Am I ready? How do I know I'm ready? How do you rebuild trust? How do you do this? How do you do this dating thing again? Do you even want to? I'm scared to even try. Right. How do you get past the fear of being afraid to try? How do you prepare yourself? And what's it like once you get out there? I could just stop there and be done, but let's talk about it. So where do you want to start? How about, are you ready? You're ready when you know you're ready, when you feel ready, when you're not carrying your past relationship into this moment to the point where it is going to affect your next relationship or friendship or whatever you're building with someone new. When you know what it is that you want for your life. When you have a clear vision of what it is you want for your life in the dating world, okay? When you are feeling like you can handle your triggers, because let me tell you, you're going to be hit with your triggers. The triggers are going to come up over and over and over again, and you're going to be in it. And it's okay, because it's how you learn to work through it, and it's how you keep moving, right? It's not the end of the world to be triggered, but it's when you know how to cope with, manage, and allow yourself to feel the things that trigger you, and you're able to have enough self-care and enough strategies for yourself in order to help yourself through this part. Hi, Butterfly Mama and Edur. Okay, so those are some ways that you can prepare yourself, knowing that if you're ready. No one gets to tell you when you're ready. You choose when you're ready. Sometimes you step into it and then you realize you're not ready and you back out. That's okay too. That's not a failure. It's just not ready. It's all right. It just means you're working on something else right now, and something else is more important. So Iraq Freedom says, I have not dated or tried since my last relationship with the creature in years. What made me sad is that in hindsight, I don't even know if I was his primary supply. You know what I mean? I do. It's very difficult. Yeah. And you bring up a perfect thing here, which is what I wanted to say. When you are able to examine, look at, experience your own self-worth, your own self-love, then the readiness can be more possible. Does that make sense? Like when you're able to step into something, take a rejection, and love yourself anyway. Because here's the things that come up with dating. Let's pretend for 1 second that we don't have to worry about, is the person a narcissist? Okay, let's just pretend that part's not there just for a second, because then we'll talk about that part after. Even with that, with someone who's potentially a really good person, the rejection factor can be there. not everyone's going to mesh. Not everyone's going to click. Not everyone's going to be, just because you're both single doesn't mean it works, right? So it's not, so things can happen, and it can feel like rejection because we have been so programmed to have these rejections in our life from the narcissist, to have constant devaluing. The littlest thing can trigger the feelings of rejection, and it makes a mountain out of a molehill situation, because it really isn't what it looks like. But that's a trigger that for a lot of people is really big, and that one requires self-love and self-worth to say, hey, wait a minute, I'm just triggered. I'm not actually being rejected. This is just the way this works, and move on. But so you see, building your self-worth is super important. Building your self-esteem, knowing what it is you want. Boundaries are huge. Here's the thing about boundaries in dating. It's fun to cross the line, right? For a lot of us. Or the boundaries are so big, we don't let anyone in, you see? And that middle ground where it's safer is a hard place to get to. So boundaries can be too rigid or too porous when it's coming to issues where you're trying to connect. So basically, we're walking into a situation, we're meeting someone, we're going to just pretend it's online dating for now, okay? So walk into a situation, you're meeting someone, you're basically interviewing what's happening, looking at the situation, trying to figure it out. What are we hoping for? Connection, love, a partner, a relationship for most people, not everybody. Some people are just looking for fun. I'm going into this with one assumption here. We're looking for these things. Whatever you're looking for, that's cool. You can look for what you want. But if the desire, which a lot of us have because the intimacy and the lack of connection was so deep with a narcissist, a lot of us are longing for true connection. Okay. So we're going out there looking for this, right? But we're putting up boundaries because you have to, and we're watching for red flags, and we're doing all this guarding of self, right? While we're trying to let someone in. And that can be really confusing if you don't have a good grip on how to work your boundaries. So work your boundaries outside of dating until you figure it out, and then step into this. Because remember, once your heart connects, once you feel that, oh my gosh, I have a total connection with that person, you're gone. Unless you stick with your logic and you can step back far enough to look at the situation and say, oh, wait a minute, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. I don't care how nice he's been. That's all been love bombing. Or, you know what? Maybe he's not a toxic person, or she is not a toxic person, but this isn't lining up. They're not emotionally healthy. They're not emotionally available. There's all kinds of reasons that a person can be not right for you. We need stability often, not everyone. We need often to have somebody, when we have been traumatized by somebody else, that is not going to push us into the places that make us go insecure, make us feel insecure. So is that making sense? So it's getting your own boundaries clear, your own self-worth, your own being okay alone, being happy alone, not even okay, enjoying yourself alone. Things like that are important, because then you're not looking for somebody to save the day and fix you, because that's exactly what happens when you meet toxic people, right? You're shoring up those vulnerabilities. You're still going to have vulnerabilities because you're human, but you're shoring up the places where you're seeking external help for those vulnerabilities. Does that make sense? Let's see. I do have a deep-seated feeling of fundamental brokenness. Yeah, and that's a place to work, because brokenness is everybody's experience in life. Honestly, most people feel a little piece of that. Not most people. I don't know. Lots of people, lots and lots and lots of people feel a brokenness. That's a belief about yourself, though, that somehow that relates to something. That brokenness means what? So if you picture something, you can look at it, it's perspective. Something broken has more beautiful pieces to look at. There's all kinds of ways to look at it. You're not broken in the sense that you can't build self-worth. Okay, everybody can build self-worth and self-esteem. And believing in yourself that you are that broken is going to be a negative limiting belief in your life. So going deeper into what that belief is telling you, what's it protecting you from? If I feel broken, it protects me from finding connection. That's me. If I'm feeling broken, I don't want anyone around me. And it protects me from having the chance of rejection, from feeling even more broken. You see what I'm saying? It becomes a self-perpetuating cycle. So that's a place you can look at to try to rework that belief to maybe I'm not fundamentally broken. Maybe it's I've been through trauma and I know how to take care of certain things that make me feel better, like finding ways to make it, to guide your life toward the positive, so you're not staring at the broken pieces, right? Okay. Instead of trying to put them back together as if they were, oh, why did it do that? Oh, I don't like when it does that. Lou. Now it's not going to unblur. There it goes. Okay. Hannah is saying, I just feel like I'll never be enough on my own for one man, since both my exes always wanted other people and they told me all men need variety. Oh. So, and here we'll talk about that. I don't know what the climate's like where you are. Where I live, it's like the polyamorous capital of the world. There's nothing against it. It's not a judgment. It's not my thing in that sense. You know what I mean? Like, or even if it is, it's, if you're a person who is looking for monogamy, this is a difficult climate. And so it depends on where you live. It depends on, and that's a boundary you set. Not all people need variety, so to speak. That's somebody giving you a line to make an excuse for their own behavior that is something that wasn't agreed upon in your relationship. And people who do it ethically do it honestly. People who do it unethically do it the way you're talking about. And not everyone does that. But you have to be careful and really... it's not about you, is what I'm saying. It's about other people's dishonesty in life. And I'll bet there were other things they were dishonest about, which you could also look at as red flags. So it's watching for red flags for somebody's integrity and somebody's ability to be honest with you about the more difficult things about themselves. And what do they do about it? How do they handle the more difficult things about themselves? You really got to get to know people. And that's what the hard part. When you feel the instant connection with someone or you feel attracted to someone, the hard part is to step back and allow the time it takes to get to know the person so that you actually see these more blaring red flags that eventually do show up. Does that make sense? Okay, so what do we got? Even friends. I'm going to a meetup group on Sunday, and this is a free activity. Okay. Oh, good. Want to meet new people and see new things. Good. And this also does translate into meeting new friends. Anyone you're letting in your life intimately and closely, right? But people ask me to talk about dating in particular. And so if you guys have questions about that, hit me up, because I'm kind of talking just off the top of my head today. It is a hard transition from narcissistic influence into new life and friends. It very much is. Hi, Vicky and Bonnie and Mo. Cowboy Shattered. Yes. Can I talk about transition from major narcissistic people into a new life, a new day? Can you ask me more about that? Where do you find the struggles with transition? I think I'm kind of touching on it with the setting of boundaries, because when we are used to having our guard up, okay. Oh yeah, ask me more, because my head's going in 3 directions now and I'm not being clear. I'm not going to be able to speak clearly off the top of my head without specific questions on that topic. That's too broad for my brain. Like the feeling is valid, but it's okay. I'm scared to date, still getting my sea legs back, been single 6 years after 17 years with the narcissist. So tell me what you guys are scared of. Yeah, they were not polyamorous. They were jealous of me and wanted only me to only want them, but they would point out other women and say they were hot. Yep. That's what you watch for in somebody new, that they don't do stuff like that. That's, obviously it's a total narcissistic trait. So we're looking for a different type of person often. So here's the thing. Sometimes when you get out there, this is a kind of a big, broad topic. Sometimes when you get out there, you don't know what you're looking for. Okay. Because you just know what you don't want. You don't want someone toxic. You don't want a narcissistic person in your life. And when you're in a larger pool, like online, you are up against strangers. You don't know anything about them except what they put in a small bio, that they're biased. Of course, they're shopping, right? They're doing what you're doing, or they're toxic and they're predatory, and you don't know. So the getting to know people part is, what am I trying to say here? It's paying attention to what's said, how it's said, learning the red flags. More importantly, though, it's keeping your own sense of self through the whole thing. It's really easy for a lot of people who are codependent or who are used to being people pleasers to instantly fall into something with someone. And generally, the rule of thumb is slow down and watch and pay attention. Okay. Why are you scared, Vicky? What's holding you back? I mean, you don't have to want to date, honestly. The only reason I'm doing this one is because I was asked. But I want to fall in love again, but I know that I'm not ready, and I have no idea if I will ever be ready. And that's the thing. I don't think there is such a thing as ready, as I was saying in the beginning, in the sense of that there's some magical formula or checklist that you go by, but being ready enough to be vulnerable and open to another human being at the same time as having boundaries and clarity about what you want. So if you don't know what you want, how can you set the boundaries? So figure it out. What do you want in a relationship? What do you want? What are the important key pieces that you want? And figure out what it is in yourself that you need to bring some self-awareness, some love, some self-care, all of that into, so that your self-worth rises up to meet. It should be equal. What you're asking from someone else should also flow through you. You know what I mean? If you're and look at the qualities of a person that you want. I want someone that is self-confident, and also self-aware, right? Be that in yourself as well. So that's how you become ready. It's also how you can help attract that towards you, because other things will not feel right. And it's frustrating. So you go out there with this, okay? You go out there when you are ready, in that sense of, okay, I know what I want. I know what I don't want. I know what I won't tolerate. I know what I'm worth. I know my value. I know, like, I feel pretty good. So what happens when you actually get out there and you're ready? That's when the triggers come, because you meet people after people after people, potentially, who will do weird things. It's not like it's just not easy, you guys. I'm sorry, but it's not. And it's an extremely interesting world out there, at least in this area. Very interesting. So let me read some of what you guys said, and we'll get back to that. Coverts are hard to spot. You know what? Yes and no. If you slow down enough, so learn the signs of the covert narcissist. Learn the signs of manipulation, period. Forget labels. Learn the signs of what it's like to be manipulated. Is someone trying to control you? Are they pushing your boundaries? Are they telling you what to think? Are they listening to you and then using that information in a way that makes you uncomfortable? Are they listening to you and offering feedback in a positive way? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the difference? Go watch the video on emotionally safe versus unsafe people. It has a lot in there about how to spot safe people. Stop looking. So what I do is I don't look for the red flags. I look for the positive. And then if the red flags show up, I'm aware. Does that make sense? So I'm not out there looking for red flags. I'm not seeking narcissists. I don't want someone toxic around me. I don't want to go like, are they, thinking in that direction? I'd rather think, what are the positives this person is bringing? If they're not bringing the positives, then it's already a no, regardless of whether they are toxic. Okay. And then if they are bringing the positives, are they also manipulating me? Because then the positives are love bombing. Does that make sense? Or the positives are a manipulation tool and grooming. And I don't want to be groomed. So if that makes sense, that's how I approach it. And there's probably other millions of approaches out there, but I try to look at it like, well, what are they bringing to this? Are they actually listening to me? Do they actually have anything to offer that is equaling what I'm offering? Or what are they after? How are they approaching this? And then if it's all positive, oh, look, they just totally stood me up. Oh, but now they want to talk again. Sorry, done. Because that's a red flag that someone doesn't have the emotional and social skills and people do that all the time because there's no obligation to you. So why not? Right? Social obligations and the way our world is today are very strange. It's not a simple thing out there, and there isn't a formula. So being ready in yourself is the part that I think is super important. And that's why. Let's see. Scared of giving up my well-being time. And that's appropriate because here's what happens is it puts you in a state of being up against the things that trigger you constantly until it works. Does that make sense? Like for every person you meet that isn't going to work or talk to even, it's another reminder or another trigger. And people get super triggered and they think all they meet are narcissists and all the because there are a lot of single people out there that are toxic. That's just the way it is. They're single for a reason. And there's a lot of single people out there who are perfectly fine and healthy and good people. And there's a lot of people out there who are perfectly fine and good people, but they're not ready to be dating. They are hurt from other relationships. They are seeking, they don't know what they're looking for. This is the 90% of what I talk to. They don't know what they're looking for. They don't know where they're going. And I can ask a question. So it's not like they're not being asked thoughtful and kind and, reasonable questions that they could easily answer. It's not like I'm asking very vague, what do you want? I'm asking specific, very kind and clear questions. They don't know. They can't answer because they're not ready. A lot of people are not emotionally available. And that's the worst thing a survivor of narcissistic abuse can get involved with is somebody who's not emotionally available and sit around and wait for them to become emotionally available. Does that make sense? And I think so that's another thing you run up against out there in the old dating world. And so the problem is it's not just about us anymore. You enter into that, it becomes about the other person too, right? And so you're right, giving up your emotional well-being time can be difficult. And I'm not trying to discourage people. I'm trying to point out the things that I come up against and that I hear about that are real, so that people aren't going into this with some fairy tale idea about what it's like or absolute fear that it's the scariest thing in the world, because it really isn't, in my opinion. It is just that you have to be almost a little bit of a scientist about it and step back enough from the emotions so that you are actually paying attention to the other person and what's going on. Is that making sense? Oops, I missed some stuff here. Can I do a video about narcissistic neighbors? Yes, that would be good with narcissist in the workplace, wouldn't it? People that you have to be around and you can't get away from. Okay. I've spotted over 8 unsafe ones when getting to know them. Great training. Yep. Yes. And that's okay. That doesn't mean you're a magnet to the unsafe people. I get upset when people say I'm a narc magnet. I'm a narcissist magnet. That isn't true. If you put yourself out there, you're just another person that the narcissist is trying to they try anyone. They try, if you're, if you're interesting at all, they're going to try sometimes. And the thing is, if you're boring enough to a narcissist, if you don't offer the supply, if you don't fall into the love bombing, someone says, oh, you're so this, you're so great, blah, blah, blah. And you just start kind of, why are you talking to me like this? You don't know me. How do you know I'm great? That's what I say. How do you know? How do you know? You don't know. Or if someone says something about a photograph that's just like over the top love bombing, I'll say, how do you know that I actually look like that? Because, and usually if they laugh, then I know that, okay, they may have realized that they just said something, or, often there just depends on the reaction, right? Anyway, I'm rambling. Okay. You just don't know. So what the point is, you're not a magnet. If you're able to spot them, what you are is well-trained. Yes. I like that. Okay. Okay. My neighbor then referred to me. Wait. Do I think there are more toxic people on dating sites than elsewhere? I'm starting to feel like it's better just to go out and meet people offline doing things I enjoy. I think that's probably right. I don't think okay. I think there's a large pool of people on dating sites. You got lots and lots of people. So yes, because of the concentration of single people, there's going to be a lot of toxic people, because there's just a lot of people, and because they're all single, and because toxic people tend to be, not obviously we're single, we're not toxic, right? But they tends to be some people where there's a reason that they're single, and that is that they're toxic. And then there's the people who are single because they've been with toxic. And then there's people that are single for other reasons. So there's a lot of different reasons. But anyway, there are a lot of toxic people on dating sites. Some people say it's nothing but toxic people. That isn't true. But I think also the majority of what I see are the emotionally unavailable. Now, is that toxic? Is it momentary? Is it where they're at in their life now? Probably. But it's not for me, right? And so it's very few that are actually where you'd want them to be. So it is a long, tiring process of weeding through people, and it feels icky. So I think it's right, and I think it's good to go try things offline and doing things the old-fashioned way, and by meeting people in the world. I don't know that you're necessarily safe there either. 100%, you're not, obviously, right? Because there's people everywhere that are toxic. So it's being careful everywhere you go and having your boundaries in place. And I don't know, but yes, there are more toxic people on the sites, and you have to be more careful because it's both. Okay, here's what I notice. It is both easier to screen and easier for them to sneak through, if that makes sense. Because if you ask the right questions and you don't just ask the boring stuff and the simple stuff of ask real questions about people's lives. Listen to how they respond. Listen to the way, with the willingness to respond, the way, if they want to talk about themselves the whole time, thumbs up, right? Listen to the way they ask back and the way they use the information that they get. Give only the information you want, because, have your boundaries set, but you're able to chat before meeting, whereas in the world you're not. Right. And so it has that can be both really dangerous, and it can also be useful, because I have to say, I don't think I've met anyone particularly toxic. I've met a ton of unavailable, if that makes sense, because within 3 questions, the narcissistic types that I'm pretty sure that something's up with, they seem very predatory, go away because of the line. They don't want to deal with the questions. But some do, some will. So you got to watch. Yeah. It's not, there's no answer. It's just really, you have to be careful. You have to have your boundaries up and your self-worth high. And that's the majority of being ready. Right. Okay. I feel emotionally unavailable, too raw. So I don't want to put myself out there in any way. And that is fair for you. And it's fair for other people, because sometimes people want to date to get over the narcissist. For a few people, that might work. Okay. I'm not going to say it can't work. But what I'm going to say is it's not fair to the person that you're attaching to. It's not fair to yourself because you're not giving yourself a chance to heal the things that are necessary for healing after narcissistic abuse that we talk about all the time. Because instead you're you're throwing everything into the dynamic of the energy and the excitement and the emotion of the new relationship. A lot of people, when they do that, find they're really sad, that they have a struggle with the healing then because they're focusing all their energy on something new and they should be focusing, and they know they need to be focusing on themselves. And it's a difficult time for them. I've talked to several people who have had that happen, and they make it through, and they found a good person and whatever, but it's challenging, and it isn't fair really to that other person because you're not emotionally there for them. You're there part-time and in a way that is not fair to the relationship at all, right? So it's good for you, and it's good to know that about yourself and start, if it's what you want in your life, you don't have to want a relationship or another person. That's okay if you don't. And if you do, then this is where you work, right? How do you get back to where you were before being contaminated by severe narcissistic abuse? You don't. You get back to where you're going. Oh, that didn't make sense. You go to where you're going. Okay. You don't get back to where you were. That's like asking, how do I get back to where I was before I started college? How do I get back to where I was? It's not, you've had an experience in life that has changed and altered the way you view things. Some of that, so you work on the things that you had damaged. You work on the programming that's in there, and as you change it from the negative to the positive, the wisdom that comes from that allows you to feel more like yourself again. If that's what you're asking, is how to feel like yourself again through that. And as you start feeling like you start doing things that feel good to you, listening to music you enjoy, going and doing the things in life that you enjoy. And as you're doing those things, plus you're working on the programming that has been put in you and the damage from the trauma that is affecting you, those two things mix together and you become a new person. Okay. You become a much wiser version of the one you used to be. It's not going to feel the same. And sometimes there's a sadness and a happy-go-luckiness that isn't there anymore. People want Clarissa Pinkola Estes, and I need to find the quote. She has the best quote about this. And it's about how, the maiden and the innocent version of a person has a trauma. And at the end of that trauma, they can feel very broken and sad and like they're not who they used to be, bent over, and not full of life and innocence. And they long to have that innocence back because now they know the difference. They know what it used to be and what it is. But she has this beautiful way, I need to find it, a beautiful way of explaining how the two things blend and become the wise person. And the wise person can hold that joy that you once had because you're going out and seeking it again, plus the wisdom of the pain and what you've suffered at the same time. And then you grow into a beautiful, blossoming, full-grown, mature adult. And that's, so that's a long story, but I need to find which book it's in because it's a beautiful, her story is great. I think there are many toxic people on dating sites. Where do we go? Okay. Very interesting to try and spot them. I find it fascinating, but yeah, I'd be happy with one or two healthy new friends. And that's true too. And this also goes for finding new friends. This isn't just romantic dating. It can be friend seeking kind of thing as well. It's hard to put yourself back out there and trust anyone. So we've done a lot of videos recently on trust and how to trust. And so those go in addition to this. And so I want to go on to more specifics because if there's questions, otherwise I'll just move on. Psychopaths are very good listeners. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So what do they do with the information when they've got it, when they're listening, and how you can't know from one thing. You have to look at all the red flags, right? And should do a video on red flags next week. That's a good idea to go along with this because it could feel, first of all, I want to make sure I have enough in my head to just say them all, but tell me my questions. Well, usually it's things like the way I ask anyone questions. So, what questions am I asking them? It's in the way I question. I listen to people, right? And if they're talking about, oh gosh, this is hard to, I should open an app and read. Just kidding. That wouldn't be nice. But so say someone says, oh, I do this for a job, and I say, oh, that's interesting. What do you enjoy it? Oh yeah, I enjoy it. What about it do you like? I like this about it. Oh yeah, do you hang out with friends after work? What do you do after work? Take the topic and I lead it through. I don't stop at superficial questions. What do you do? What do you do for fun? I go skiing and this. Oh, that's cool. I do this. Great. What do you like to eat? You know what I mean? Like, I don't just go through the list of the average questions. If someone says, I like to eat this food, I say, oh, have you ever been to that country? Oh, what do you do about that? I go into the question and follow the line of questioning so it becomes a conversation. That's what I'm trying to say. I lead the questions into conversation. So it doesn't really matter what I'm asking, it's the way I'm asking. I lead the questions into conversations. I'm a conversationalist. That's why live streaming is challenging because I'm just talking and there's no conversation. But until you guys talk, then I get conversation. Yay. But so I might, don't bark. I don't need that kind of conversation. No. Does that making sense? That it's not just the specific questions, it's the way I converse versus superficial asking of questions. Because when you start conversing, people start opening up. And when they start opening up, they start showing you parts of themselves. For instance, someone starts calling you babe and you don't know why. And like, whoa, that just came out of nowhere. And you realize it's because the conversation got comfortable. And so then that piece of them, and you start thinking, are they love bombing me? What's going on? And you can watch and you can see, oh my gosh, they are. Oh no, that's just how they talk, and you can, because you're getting more of the person versus the superficial guarded part. That making sense? Okay. I don't know. Okay. How do I know? Wait, I'm getting lost. Okay. Wow, there's a lot of chat going on here and I'm totally lost. Okay. Oh, well, now I remember when I would start asking those questions, he would change the subject. Being intimate and throwing me off. Interesting, 2020 hindsight. Exactly. You see, it's as you start having true conversations, the person can come out more, and it's not, you're not going to catch everything, but at least there's some red flags. You can, for instance, if you are talking to someone and you start interjecting things and they're not listening to you, they're just talking about, they keep wanting to bring it back, then, best case scenario, they don't know how to listen. Psychopaths are very sneaky. Is way harder to spot them. Way, way harder. It takes time, and we need to know the red flags, but it's not just the red flags. You're right. It's in the body language and the stare. Yes. Okay. I have met people where they don't look at me until they give the stare. And that stare is hypnotic, pulls you in. It's repulsive to me, but I can feel the pull and the push at the same time. Yeah. It's like a stare of wanting to devour you, isn't it? In some way. Yeah. Okay. They all talk about their troubles. That people do that. Yes, it's hypnotic. Used to be in love with that stare. Now I know better. Yes. And it's very difficult in a new person, because when it comes up in a new person and you don't know them and they're not showing any other red flags, it's just that. It's really hard to step back and not fall into that hypnosis of it. That's what I'm talking about, needing to be within yourself, know your boundaries and what you want from it. Because if the stare is pulling you in, if love bombing is pulling you in, if anything is pulling you too fast into wanting to be connected to somebody quickly, something is going on, right? That's not to say you can't have quick and easy connection with someone healthy, but even then, step back enough to let it actually unfold and become something real instead of diving in and throwing yourself away into it. You have to be able to hold on to yourself, especially when you're still healing and you don't know if you're ready yet, or if you're ready, but you know what I mean? Like, you got to be able to hold on to yourself and who you are. And if you're not, then the red flag is you too, right? Because you're not being safe with somebody else either. What's the difference between INFJ stare and the narc stare? I don't think I stare. I don't think that I've seen it in an ENFJ. Intense, excited. Tell me more. I want to know everything because, yeah, I've not seen it in an INFJ. Usually they're more questioning. The narcissistic stare. Okay, what's the difference between a narcissistic stare? You guys help me with this. What's the difference between a narcissistic stare and the stare of attraction? The glance and the looks of attraction. Everybody has a look they give to someone that they're attracted to that's different from the looking at everybody else, right? That's part of what makes the spark that we're all looking for, right? How we don't just sit and like blankly stare at each other and we're like, yeah, you're cute. You know, it's not how it works. So what's the difference between that pull and a narcissistic pull? Well, it's predatory when the narcissist does it. And I don't know, to me, it feels different. I'm thinking back and it felt more like I didn't have a choice. Does that make sense? Instead of playful, flirtatious looks back and forth, it was, I don't have a choice. It was hypnotic. It was different. Help me. How do you describe that? It's totally different. And I can feel the difference. I'm just not putting words to it in my sitting here trying to put words to it. You can see the stare in their photos. Yes, you can. Let's see. I would venture to guess if an INFJ stare has a curious human. Where'd it go? You're brokenhearted. Tell me more, Bonnie. What's going on? Oh, you were loyal to a fault. Yes, I know. Thank you for voicing that pull that makes us want to be with that person right away. And truthfully, that is also so I guess it's a more intensified version of the flirtatious stare and the stare of interest that you might give to people that are interested in each other have for one another, right? But it's a more intense and cold and empty one. It's greedy. It draws you. It pulls you in versus plays with you back and forth, you know. And but that's not always the case. Sometimes it can be flirtatious. You just got to be careful. Knowing that a lot of human connection comes from our eye contact. It's not like you don't want to look people in the eye. You just got to know what you're feeling is attraction, not connection. There we go. Woo, got it. What you're feeling when you are being stared at or when there is eye contact that feels attractive does not necessarily mean the person's toxic, because everybody does a little bit of that. It can totally. And if you know what that stare feels like, you know, and it's repulsive once you know. But also say it does draw you in, say you are attracted to someone and they are attracted to you, and there's that stare, that look that you give one another, and you don't know, oh my gosh, am I getting a stare? It doesn't. Step back and realize that that's attraction. That is not connection. The connection comes from the heartfelt communication that's between people. And that's different than attraction. And attraction, if you go on attraction only, you're going to follow all kinds of people all over crazy places, because you can be attracted to all kinds. So what we're looking for is the combination, right, of attraction, connection, empathy, compassion, right? That's what I'm talking about, looking for the qualities that you're looking for. If I was like to hang out with everyone that was attractive. Wow, that'd be a problem. that would get me in trouble. All right. INFJ stare has a curious human quality, although admittedly I have never heard it. I haven't heard of it. Did I say INFJ stare? I hadn't. Somebody did. I don't know. Oh, you stare and you're an INFJ. I stare, but I feel as though people think I'm looking at them weird, but I'm just interested. Interested. You just said it. It's the interest. Because of the introverted, we tend to be watching a lot and not as well, ENFJs have that too. It's a more tell me. That's like it's inquisitive versus like a hypnotic magnet pulling you in. Okay. Okay. Move seats on the bus because of that stare. Yeah, I mean, yeah. What did Idor say? I'm missing stuff here. Sorry. Okay. What else, you guys? What about dating? Do you have any questions that you want to talk about? Kind of, it's a really, there's too many directions to take this, right? Because it's not just the other person you got to watch out for. It's yourself is what I'm saying. You got to watch yourself and know yourself in these situations. So say you're into it and you're involved in whatever, meeting people. The kinds of things that can come up can leave you feeling, it can make your self-worth diminish because of the triggers. So whatever your trigger is, whatever the narcissistic abuse has made you feel, people will feel unattractive. They'll feel rejected. They'll feel they're not worth anything. They'll never find a partner. They aren't worthy of love. All of this stuff keeps coming up because you're going up against, you're in a sea of 99% of those people not being a fit for you, right? Say it's a dating site and you've got hundreds of people that you're swiping all day long. It's like a job, telling you, and if you let it be, it can become obsessive. You can become fixated on it because it's not like you can just talk to one person and have it be okay and it's all cool and that's done. You don't know who that person is. People do weird stuff. They ghost you. They talk to you for weeks at a time and then disappear. If you let your heart and your self-worth be what's guiding you into this process, it's not the healthiest place for a survivor. Does that make sense? If you are using more logic and actually looking, if you have qualities and like not a checklist, but standards, for yourself and for what you want in your life, the type of people you want around you, it's a lot easier to not let your heart and your emotions guide you. Because if you feel like every time a woman doesn't reply to you, it's a rejection, then it's not. It's about her. Okay. It's about her not having the maturity to say, hey, you know what? I'm not feeling a connection here, or I'm going through stuff in my life right now and I'm not able to connect with anyone, or whatever, to say what's going on and then be clear and just be transparent and honest. People don't. They just stop. Okay. And that's weird. It's socially completely wrong. And they do it anyway. And it's all over the place. So you got to kind of it's like having a thick skin and not taking it all too personal, even though it's one of the more personal things you'll do in your life. So, okay. We're talking about looks here and stares. Okay. Anything else you guys want to talk about with this topic? Because what I think is interesting is what happens to us. Not so much the weeding through process and the crazy dating stories, which could go on and on. But you don't want those. Maybe you do because they're funny. But and also, I don't want to focus on narcissists here. let's focus on what we would want for the next like 3 minutes, 5 minutes here. What we would want to find if we were out there looking, and if we are struggling to wait. Because, okay, I mean, you guys can chat about what you want, but we got to get rid of the victim stance before we're ready to date. Let's put it that way. We got to get rid of the I'm a survivor place and work towards becoming a thriver in order to be safe and healthy out there and to be ready. And for the person that, okay, here's the thing. If you're not working towards being ready for what it is you want, then you're not going to be able to sustain what it is you want. Does that make sense? If you're expecting this perfect person to come in that isn't toxic and is all these things, but you're not taking care of yourself to match that with your own ability to find your self-worth, then that ain't gonna work for that other person. So, okay, it's okay, you're off topic, and we can talk about something else. That's fine. Okay, I know I'm off topic, but my friend is getting married and I'm scared to go to be around the people, but I know that I have the responsibility to my friend. How do I handle the fear? So, number one, if you're going to go anyway, set up something for yourself when you get home that is full of self-care. Set up a nurturing, comforting, safe, whatever, a movie, an idea of what you will do, and actually do the thing. You know, make your bed, have it all nice, whatever you need to do to make yourself feel like, oh, I feel so much better when you get home. Okay. When you're there, it's okay to take breaks. In fact, it's good for you to take breaks from the crowds and the people. Find places to step away to, find, step into the bathroom if you have to, whatever it is, to just take breaks. In those breaks, do some breathing exercises, ground yourself, meditate if you can. You do affirmations in your head. Observe what's around you. Get out of your head. Observe what's around you and pay attention. Sit somewhere where you can see the kids at the wedding playing, you know, or you can watch people dancing or something, but far enough away that you're not pulled into it too much energetically, and take some breaks. If you feel like a conversation's going in a way that you don't feel like talking, you could, excuse me, like something in my throat, let me go grab a drink. You know, you can find ways to step away from people that's polite and not have to engage as heavily as you might think you need to. It's okay to be quiet. It's okay to just do your thing. It's okay to leave early. It's okay, you know, it's all okay. So the fear part, what is the fear saying to you? What are you telling yourself? Those are ideas, but more specifically, what are you telling yourself? Okay. Narcissists lower our standards to compromise for the sake of the relationship. Yes, they do. So we have to raise our standards. Well, know what your standards are. When you come out of a toxic relationship, you don't even know what your standards are for how you'll be treated. Figure it out. What do you want? That's the part that gets you ready, right? Does that help? Good. Okay. But I am a survivor. I hope that my experience, you are a survivor. I meant get out of the survivor mindset that keeps you. So if you're out there, if we're talking specifically about finding new friends or dating, if you're out there with this, I'm a survivor in that mode, you're still in a sea of that in-between place of where the toxic people prey and where you're not impervious yet. Does that make sense? You're not Teflon. You're not letting things don't roll off of you because you are triggered. You are, yes, even people who things roll off of get triggered. They know how to handle their triggers. Does that make sense? Or they know how to step away when someone's toxic. You can fall fast for someone totally emotionally, see the toxic and step away. That's taking care of yourself and stepping out of the survivor mindset into a thriving mindset, because it's not letting something continue past the point when you see what happened. The survivor mindset might sit and study it. You know what I'm saying? You might sit there and take it personally and study it and like wonder what it is about, like why me, what, you know, it can all come back collapsing toward sinking place versus a lifting up. Is that making sense? So yes, we are survivors. That is what we are. It's part of the wisdom that I was talking about earlier, that getting back to who you were beforehand, you bring the fact that you are a survivor into the joy in your life now. But it's the mindset of what's next, thriving, right? So okay, you're triggered. The silver lining to sever the narcissistic abuse. Does that make sense, Bonnie? What I was saying, that yes, I'm not diminishing at all that you are a survivor, and it's okay, thriving. Yeah, it's combining the thriving. The survivor is always there, but it's the attitude of it. Does that make sense? Instead of the sort of like once you're a student, you're always kind of a student because you know how to learn, but you're not actively engaged in college any longer, but you're still a student of things in life because you've learned how to learn. So you know how to survive. But if you hold on to that survivor mindset, what happens is we're always on guard. We're always, even when we need to start learning to trust, we can't. We are always looking for the other shoe to drop. We're always things like that when, yes, the other shoe is going to drop and we have to learn how to, is that making sense? Like how to see it with a different perspective. That's, yes, in life it goes up and down and the other shoe does drop, but that doesn't mean every time something good happens, something bad's going to happen, because you no longer have to survive the love bomb devalue. Okay, so the mindset and the attitude of survival doesn't need to be there. We're not running from the bear anymore. Okay, the bear is not here. And so moving forward, knowledge of the bear could be there is absolutely part of it, but it's not, that doesn't help you thrive if you stay looking over your shoulder always for the bear or running from it when it's not there. That's what I mean. Okay. Meaning scared you're going to be hurt. You're scared. Wait, you're going to be hurt. Not another narc, not another narc, not another narc. Be aware, be safe, be safe. That's what your head's saying to you. But so if you're just going to a social event, why do people need to come into your personal psyche and your personal space that deeply? Why can't it just stay superficial? Maybe think of topics to talk about that are super superficial, even if you hate small talk, and keep it at that so that people don't have a chance to, if there's that many people and you can't weed through it and you can't know if someone's toxic, and if someone is starting to act toxic, walk away. You don't need to stay there. You can find an excuse, right? And having someone that is anyone there that you do trust? If there's someone there that you do trust, you can always, look for them and go hang out near them. I guess raise the vibrations. Yes, it is hard. It's not easy when still in survivor mode. It's not easy ever. It's not easy. I said this yesterday. Let's talk about the word. It's hard. Yes, it's hard. It is hard. It's hard for all of us. And it's not to diminish the fact that it's hard. It's acceptance of the fact that it's not easy. But if it's taking that it's hard to, I can totally do this. Because you already do it in some ways. You already raise your vibrations in some ways. And so it's looking at those places where you do. And when it's hard, I don't know. I'm not explaining this one well right this second, because I'm not getting exactly what's hard. Okay. What did Grace say that I missed? The transition is hugely tough, Bonnie. And yes, it can understand the triggering part. Keep mindful that you have a right, and remember the self-value and care. Right. Just try and have fun. That's exactly it. Try and have fun. Try and find, I don't know, 10 things that are beautiful and joyful about the wedding so that your focus is on that. That's a good one. Oh, I'm so glad that's helping. Good. Okay. I find it difficult to answer a casual hi, how are you question, let alone basic conversation with anyone else. Let alone have a basic. You find it hard to answer a casual question. What is difficult about it? Do you feel, what do you feel? What goes on? Or is that making you uncomfortable? I'm sorry if it is. I just realized that was ironic that I asked you to ask you another question to answer when you just said it's difficult to, but there we go. Sometimes I wonder what differentiates me from the thrivers out there. And I compare and I automatically assume that I don't have what it takes, but I know that's the programming. And that statement right there is what makes it different. What makes it different? That the assumption that you don't have what it takes, thrivers know they do. How do they know they do? They have taught themselves that they do. How do you teach yourself that you do? Well, there's all kinds of ways. What I like to do is look at the things I do well, even if they're teeny tiny, and listen when people give you compliments. People in your life that tell you anything positive about yourself, ask for things. I think you come here, you show up, you participate, and you ask questions and you share yourself, which means to me that you have self-awareness, you have kindness and compassion, and that you have, I don't know you, right? I've never met you. I don't even know your real name. So, or maybe I do and I don't know that. And what I sense is that you have an inquisitive mind and that you have got all these qualities. And I'm telling you right now, take it. Okay. It just gave you some stuff. Okay. And you can find it in yourself. Let the people who mirror the beautiful things about yourself at you, let it in. That's so hard for us because we are so we don't want to look at the good about ourselves. That's hard. All right. We're way off topic and that's okay because we're way past an hour anyway. We're going to end here in just a second by just chatting with each other and being here. Yes. Connecting our aspirations for goodness and see your own. When you see and ask something good in someone else, especially in support groups, realize that that quality is probably in you too. Because there's a lot of similarities, just like there's a lot of similarities between toxic people. There's a lot of similarities between the people that they abuse. And look for it in other people and look for that quality in yourself as well. And allow it in. That's how you build the self-esteem. It's one way. And that's how you build, that's one way to build the mindset that you are good enough, totally good enough. There's no reason that you're not, honestly. But you have to find that, right? I'd rather ask them how they are and talk about myself because it feels like the spotlight's on you. You compliments. Ooh, now I want to compliment you just because I think it's good, but I'm not gonna because that's not nice. It is nice, but I know what you mean. I know. They're hard to take. I had to teach myself to take a breath and I had to teach myself to take a breath and allow the compliment. Even now, even when you guys say thank you, this is helping. I have to remember it's helping you. It's not about me. Okay. And that's what helps me take a compliment. Even when he said thank you with a heart, oh, hi, Eric. Even when he said thank you with the heart, it's a little like, oh, that's a compliment, and I get it. But it's take a breath and realize that the giving of a compliment is not always toxic. Okay. Sometimes it's real, honest mirroring of who you are in a healthy way. So I'm not going to compliment. I was teasing, but you know what I mean, though. We have to, if you can learn to accept the good things about yourself, then why do I do it that? Okay. Sorry. If you can learn to accept the good things about yourself, then you're able to find your self-worth. It's just that we block ourselves. So, we'll talk about self-sabotage. Yes. Self-sabotage next week too, or this weekend. Self-sabotage. Okay. I have amazing skin. I have very pale skin. Thank you. Compliments. Now I blush. Okay. Oh, now you're all complimenting. This is so funny. I'm going to get you, my pretties. That was not good. That was okay, I'm losing it. All right. Good night to you, who it is evening time for, and I will let you guys get on with your day. You guys have a good day. If you have not subscribed and you would like to, please hit subscribe. Hit the thumbs up if you like this topic. This is a challenging topic. It's a super triggering topic, and I appreciate you guys for sticking in with it as best we can. We can go more into specifics. If anyone has questions, specifics about dating, leave them in the main comments, and I can do something more concentrated and specific if I know what it is, what your questions are about dating after narcissistic abuse, because it's a big topic, as you heard, and it has a lot to do with the way it affects you. It has a lot to do with red flags and all, and then like keeping yourself safe. But what I'm finding is more importantly is how it affects me, and how I have to keep my self-esteem up in the sea of crazy. And that's a challenge. Okay. And so there's that. So anyway, hit the thumbs up if you like it. Hit subscribe if you would like a text sent to you before I go live. 33222 is the number to text. Put the words Lise Live, LISELIVE, and I will send you a text. Thank you very much. And I got to write that down, self-sabotage, because that I think is relevant, because what I'm hearing here is what is blocking. I'm writing messily. All right. What is blocking people from thriving is this limiting belief, self-sabotage thing going on. And I feel like we all do it, right? We all do it. And it's like, I need to get more into it to talk about how to let that go a little bit. Okay. I don't feel like dating is dating at all. Is it healthy? Totally. You don't have to. You don't have to date ever. You don't have to. I was just asked to talk about it. And half the reason I'm even doing it is so that I can talk about it, because I know what people are going through. Because yeah, that's how I roll. But okay. Thank you, Jack. All right. More compliments flying my way. Didn't mean for it to be a compliment fest, but that was nice. Just to watch me squirm, right? Just to watch me squirm. Okay. All right. Okay, so that's it. I'll talk to you guys later. We've gone long. All right. Have a good one. Take care. See ya. Bye-bye.